Stray cats are going missing all over Pittsburgh. Why, may you ask? Well, the reason why... Well, I'm assuming stray cats are going missing because a giant vulture has just been released from the aviary in an open skies exhibit. A vulture flew off, and they have no idea where to find it. They're searching frantically all over the place, and many believe that if the vulture had a body cam, we may have really actually gotten to the bottom of this situation much earlier. We would know all the facts, we would know all of the details, but now we just have to go by the aviary's word. So, I don't know how we can trust that. I mean, I'm just saying accountability is all we are asking for, and that actually occurred. There was a police situation out in California where there was an outrage, there was a protest, people were angry because there was another shooting, another police officer shooting of a black individual, and people were up in arms, and it's a real serious issue. People like to make light of the situation, but it is a serious issue. It is happening, and it is affecting people in those communities, but body cams, that's the answer. I've said it, I've been saying it for over a year. Body cameras are the answer. Not only will it take down bad cops, not only will it take down bad people who like to blame the cops when they're innocent, but it will also protect, more importantly, it will protect good cops. And this body cam video that was released by the police department is showing that there was a reason why this gentleman was shot. There was suspicion, there was fear on the officer's part. And I've always said it for years, why is the Fraternal Order of Police against body cameras? And that's always been my question. It protects good cops, it's good for cops, it's good. Accountability is not a bad thing. Everyone wants to make accountability out to be this villainous thing. Oh, well, you don't know how tough their job is. Yeah, they knew when they went in. And maybe it was tougher than they realized, but they knew when they went in. So accountability is good for them. It's good for us. It's good for everybody involved. We got to bring back body cameras. Welcome to the River's Edge Radio Network. I am the most interesting man in the burg, Brian Crawford, here at the beautiful Millvale Studios. Wonderful art on display all the time. But really, there is a big vulture that has escaped, and it is flying the skies of Pittsburgh as we speak. So watch your heads. Maybe it'll take out a few pigeons in the process. I would like to... That's what we should do with the aviary. We should commission them to bring in a team of vultures to go in and attack the geese on the North Shore. So maybe I could take a walk without stopping, without trampling through feces. Seriously, have you ever walked through the North Shore? Have you ever walked along the river trail? It is literally just an entire... It's like the river, you would think the river extended onto the shore, but it was just like a river of feces. It's just completely covered in feces. The Great Lawn often is white with bird poop. It's disgusting. Bring in the vultures. But there were some interesting things that happened in the last couple weeks, and I wanted to talk about it on Wednesday, but with all of the technical issues we had, I was unable to move on that. But there was a really fascinating story that happened here locally in Pittsburgh where two officers were having dinner, or they were on break, on their lunch, at an Eden Park. And at this Eden Park, a couple came in and they were being seated next to the officers. Well, they were disgusted. They did not want to sit next to a police officer. They have a negative view of the police, and they asked to sit somewhere else. And the police officers, their response to this situation, in my opinion, is the response that will truly bring real change in the world we live in. The police officers didn't throw a commotion. They didn't have a fit. They didn't leave the restaurant. They didn't confront the people. What they did is they purchased those two people. They purchased their meal. For that meal. They showed, instead of reacting in anger or instead of reacting in judgment, these two officers reacted through kindness. And through kindness, that is the only way, through understanding, that is the only way that we are, as a nation, going to come together and be whole again. So kudos to those officers in Homestead. There was also a situation in Dallas where there was an anti-Black Lives Matter protest, and it was an All Lives Matter protest, which is basically people who are bitter about the Black Lives Movement, so they try to derail it by saying other lives matter too, as if other lives didn't matter in the first place. But they had their rally, and apparently the Black Lives people reached out to them, and they ended up joining together. And it was a really interesting video. You can find that on CNN. But I don't know. I just saw those two stories really struck to me this week. And I've been talking about this issue at length for many weeks. It's just keeps coming up over and over and over again. And maybe it's not good for ratings because maybe it's not news anymore, but I think it's important, so I'm going to talk about it. But you never see this side of the equation. You never see the side where people are coming together, where people are looking to build a bridge instead of burn one down. And I thought these two stories really highlighted that. And I think maybe that's the mind frame that we need to get into. Instead of saying that, because you're skeptical of police officers, you hate all cops, or to say because you question a cop, you hate all cops, or on the flip side, that if you support the police, that for some reason that means you hate all black people. It's just these ridiculous ideas that we have, and that's the drum that we're beating all the time. So these two stories, I think, really showed a better side to us as humanity living here in the United States. And I think it's important, especially in Pittsburgh, where in the 5th Ward, police officers are driving to a car and responding multiple officers to every incident because there was a threat against our own police officers here in Pittsburgh. So it's here, it's local, it's not just in Dallas, it's not just in Baltimore, it's not just in New York, it's here in Pittsburgh. We're living with it right here, and it's terrifying, really. It's terrifying to think that people would go in New York when 2 officers were literally butchered for no reason, in Dallas with a sniper taking down officers. You're never going to win someone over through violence. You're never going to bring someone to your frame of mind to understand your position through violence, because I know people like myself who maybe are a step removed from the situation. We see a killing that's what we see. We see the killing. We don't see the message that's behind it. We see it actually, we're turned off from your message through your actions. So we might talk with Mike a little bit about that. We're going to talk to Mike about a few other things up next. We have lots of good stuff here today during the show. Don't forget Mike Sasson. He starts this coming Tuesday, live show, 10 a.m. here at riversedgepgh.com, powered by NJL WebTech. Mike's a great local comedian. He's got some experience behind the microphone at Q92 and formerly of CBS Radio as well. And we have James Ellermeyer. He's here with us. He's sitting at the other table here. We're gonna join him at 10:40 as well. And don't forget, tomorrow Jay Cooper returns triumphantly to the River's Edge Radio Network with me. We're going to be broadcasting at 10 a.m. You can watch us or listen to us live as well. And he is going to try to prove to me and prove to you why we should let him back in studio after he abandoned us not so long ago. Up next, we have Mike with politics here on the River's Edge.
Hey, what's going on, Coop Troop? This is comedian Jay Cooper letting you know that I will be back at the River's Edge Radio Show July 16th at 10 a.m. So y'all need to listen in. And if y'all ain't listening in, that means y'all ass might be a hood rat.
All right, welcome back to the River's Edge Radio Network. Brian Crawford here, reminding you that you can become part of the local music scene here in Pittsburgh by subscribing to us on Patreon. You can find that at the bottom of every page at riversedgepgh.com. The River's Edge is Pittsburgh's voice for local music. Pittsburgh's voice for local politics, Mike McMullen, is over the phone right now. Mike, how are you?
Good, Brian. How are you? Less than 48 hours and I'm heading to Cleveland and the convention.
Yes, that's exciting. So it's going to be a fun time. It's going to be an interesting scene, I think. It's going to be filled with protests and craziness, and I'm excited to hear what you have to say about that. I think it's going to be pretty interesting commentary.
Well, I look forward to going live next week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah, Mike will be here every day, to bring us coverage of the convention.
it's interesting times. Just to lead in, I don't know if you had a lead in, but Trump was supposed to have a press conference, like 11 o'clock this morning, but unfortunately, thoughts and prayers what happened. The crazy sons of bitches, one lone wolf terrorist, whatever, who drove a damn semi truck, and a crowd of people, on Bastille Day in France,
Yeah, what a tragedy.
Americans. It was tragic.
Isn't it sad that this almost is no longer breaking news? We've just become so used to it. I remember I read it on my phone today. I get updates from the Washington Post, and I get this update, and it said that Trump was holding off his VP nomination because of it. And I just thought, man, isn't that sad that that's the leading news, that Trump is withholding his VP? And I'm not faulting them. I mean, it's just we're so accustomed to it. Every week there's something else.
Well, is it the norm now? Yes, it is. I mean, and reading press reports and Reuters and all, some, a wide range of news sources. I just don't listen to one. I try to get, a diverse group, or, try to filter through all the bullshit sometimes. Is that, this guy, I mean, he rented the truck supposedly, he rented the truck in another city. And and the thing is, he was, I think, from Tunisia, one of the smaller countries in the Middle East, but he was not on a terror watch list. So I mean, Ging, pardon?
I was going to say I have an issue with the terror watch list concept as well when it comes to.
Well,
that's a different issue when it comes to rights and things like that.
It is. I mean, and Gingrich came out very strong last night and this morning. It's like, look, we need to monitor every mosque, and so forth. I'm like, and if they're like under Sharia law, you gotta support them. Okay. So it is what it is, But switching back to politics, because we're on the eve of 2 days before the start of the convention, is that Governor Mike Pence of Indiana, former member of Congress, running for governor again, and it wasn't one source. I mean, even back for the campaign manager for Trump.
Mike, you're breaking up a little.
I'm sorry. It's a little bit windy outside. Is that better?
That's a little bit better, yeah.
Okay. So Trump's guy basically was saying Pence is going to be the nominee. But here's the interesting thing in Indiana, though, is that, and here again, the rules and the laws. Governor Mike Pence has to declare if he's running for governor or not by noon today. And the thing is, if he doesn't, like declare he's running for governor, it's a foregone conclusion. It'll be official but unofficial. But that essentially means that we're probably going to. I mean, we as Republicans going to concede, the governorship in Indiana, which is very Republican state, But Obama won it, he won it. So, but I think Pence is the nominee, and people say, "Oh, well, what does he bring to the ticket?" It's like, look, he's a good conservative governor, good Midwestern governor. Look, we're going to win in Indiana anyway, and look, people don't vote for a VP; they vote for the top of the ticket. I'm sick and tired of people. Oh, balance the ticket. Bullshit. People vote for the top of the ticket. You tell me in the last, I don't know, several decades.
The reason why. You're absolutely right. There's a reason why in Pennsylvania everyone runs for lieutenant governor, but no one wants to run for governor.
Correct. I mean, and it's like, look, people don't vote for the VP because he's more conservative. I mean, look, did Sarah Palin help the ticket in McCain? Oh no, we lost in 2008. Prime example, Mitt Romney picked governor. Congressman Paul Ryan of Wisconsin. Did he help? Did he help us with the ticket? Yeah, he's a good congressman from the Upper Midwest, but we ultimately lost Wisconsin. So putting somebody on the ticket, I think if Kasich would have been on the ticket, now that could have been a game changer a little bit because he probably could have delivered Ohio for us. But hell, Governor Kasich supposedly he's not even going to show up to the convention, so we'll see.
Bernie Sanders has completely sold out. He has compromised everything his campaign stood for when he expressed his support for Hillary Clinton. A lot of his supporters are now feeling the Johnson and going that route, the libertarian route. Do you think that this could hurt her? I mean, I think him supporting her may actually, in many ways, and that's what I'm seeing at least on social media, it may actually hurt her instead of help her, because now his supporters who may have wandered over, they're so disgusted with him now that I mean, that's the thing. You get a candidate like Sanders who's so big on issues, and when you compromise those issues, your people, you're going to lose your base.
Well, Brian, good points. A couple points to get, to jump into this real quick. One, obviously he was promised something, and/or he's going to get a primetime speaking spot at the convention. Rah 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 the troops. Number two, those supporters are going to go twofold. Either they're going to go to the Green Party candidate, Jill Stein. People say, who, Green Party? Well, if you look at her donations, they've surged about 2,000%. Wow. As soon as Bernie jumped ship, and/or it's going to go to and I think a lot of Bernie supporters are just going to be so disenfranchised that they're going to probably find more in common with Jill Stein, the Green Party candidate, more so than Gary Johnson. So,
but his name is being floated by those same people. I mean, his name is being floated though by those same people.
Correct. So, and normally Green Party candidates, they don't even get like less than 1%. But, a lot of the polls I've seen, Gary Johnson's floating between 5 to 10, and she's floating about, 2 to 4. Well, you got a four-way race, and let's say, okay, well, I mean, there's no just certain states. She's going to, Clinton's going to win in the certain states. Trump's going to win. But, when it comes down to it, 7 to 10 states are going to determine this election. Ohio, Pennsylvania, Indiana, North Carolina, Florida, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, New Hampshire. 2 or 3 points, if Gary Johnson gets 5 or 6 percentage points in New Hampshire and Stein gets 2 or 3, that could tip the scale either way. So, here again, third-party candidates ultimately hurt Republicans. We can talk about it, local, nationally. It is what it is. Bernie sold out. He's getting something in return. I'm surprised he sold out. Obviously, he's going to have a primetime speaking spot. I mean, there's no way Hillary is going to – well, there's no way. Highly unlikely that she's going to pick him for VP. She's probably going to go with probably a rising star, within the Latino or African-American community, just to balance the ticket, just to, say what it is. I mean, it'll be interesting times. I mean, I'm leaving Sunday morning because I'm actually being interviewed by an Australian TV station midday on Sunday. They're actually going to follow me around for a couple days and so forth. So that's going to be interesting. Yeah. So I guess I got to learn to speak Aussie and down under.
Do you think the convention, do you think it's embarrassing for the Republicans that people keep bailing on the convention, even speakers? They floated the name Tim Tebow, said he was speaking, and Tim Tebow came out and said, no, I'm not speaking at the convention. He might be sleeping at the convention, but he's not speaking there.
People got Brian, great point. And look, and I said this all along, we started with 17. The people spoke in the primary and caucus states. Like it or not, Donald Trump's going to be the presumptive nominee as of next Thursday night, and within 10 days to 2 weeks, Hillary's going to be the presumptive nominee once she accepts the nomination. People have got to take a line in the sand, and prime example. And yes, I'm not talking negatively on her junior senator, but Senator Pat Toomey doesn't have the kahunas to show up at the convention because, I can't be around the Republican National Convention because it's going to hurt my re-election chances. Well, if anything, I would show up if I were Senator Pat Toomey, because at the end of the day, if there's going to be coattails, and Trump is in the mark. I mean, Trump right now is leading in Pennsylvania, according to the latest poll. So, the couple polls. So, I mean, it's not by much, but he is up. And I mean, and look, every election in Pennsylvania has been within, well, not every one, but the last couple cycles, 4 or 5 points, Democrat, Republican, presidential. Well, I'll tell you what, if Trump wins PA, if I'm Pat Toomey, I'm going to ride those coattails. And shame on him and shame on other congressmen who don't have the freaking kahunas to show up at the convention. Look, he's the nominee. You gotta be, we're all, like touchy-feely and kumbaya. Well, look, face it, suck it up, deal with it. Trump's the nominee, and people are running left and right from him. I mean, and you know what? I mean, he might get clobbered in November. Or then again, if you look at a lot of the polls recently this last week, he's doing pretty well in battleground states. So, great question, and a lot of congressman, senator, even elected officials. Oh, I can't be at the convention because, my image. Well, you know what? Suck it up and deal with it.
Ed Rendell has come out, and he expressed his support for some of Donald Trump's policies when it comes to trade. I always found Rendell interesting. He always came across as a crook. I never liked the guy, to be honest, but he does speak his mind, and he's honest, and that's kind of a rarity in politics. He's like almost like the quasi-Trump of the Democratic Party, where he just says what he feels, and be damned if it pisses the establishment off.
Well, you
got to respect him for that,
Brian.
at least.
I mean, well, you know what? Look, I disagree with Ed Rendell on a lot of policies, and issues. But I don't dislike him. I dislike his policies when he was governor and drove the state in the ground and tax and spend. But like anything, if you want to get something accomplished, you can't be this hold the line all the time. Yes, you got to fight for principle, and you can't compromise. We can digress and talk about the state budget. We'll finish that up if you got an extra minute or two.
We'll do that. Mm-hmm.
Is that, look, if you want to get something done, you can't be an obstructionist. You've got to, like I've always said in the Republican Party, pro-life, pro-gun, if you're on the other side of certain issues, everybody needs a seat at the table. We can agree to disagree on issues, but let's move forward and try to find common ground and move forward.
Mike, that's an interesting point. Can I expand on that? I've been talking over the last couple weeks, and we mentioned it today, the killings that have been going on in the United States and the clashes between the Black Lives Matter movement and the police, and even just dealing with mass shootings and gun control and things like that, that people are so rigid in their beliefs that they won't even, not even have a conversation. They won't even open their ears to listen to what someone has to say, even if you are dead set on disagreeing, even if you just take 30 seconds and listen to someone say a sentence, at least then they feel they're heard, and you can move from there. But don't you think this is a problem with society at large, where we just are so firm or we're more worried about putting our talking points out there and getting the last word than we are about actually coming up with any kind of solution for anything?
Brian, good points. And we could go off on that subject for a couple hours. It's like, look, we all were brought up, in certain parts of the country, Western Pennsylvania, we all, and people don't want to admit it, and I'll say it publicly, we're all prejudiced to a certain degree because the way we were brought up in our environment, we're not, we haven't been exposed to certain things. Everybody has prejudice, is prejudiced to a certain degree, whether it be, certain issues, race, or whatever.
It could even be as much as, people with fast food. People think that they are bums, or even that's a type of prejudice. It doesn't even have to be race related. So I think that's a good point. People look down and it's like, there's somebody working at Walmart part time, to make extra money for the family. Look, you got to do what you got to do to help survive and all that. And people who think, I know better than you. No, you got to treat people with dignity and respect, and find commonality and move forward. But. It's going to be interesting in Cleveland. I've got a couple friends of mine, in the central and southeastern part of the state, who are going to carry. And Ohio has an open carry. It's sort of like Texas. You can open carry in Ohio. Just like in PA. Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, I told them, I said, don't bring it on. You're bringing it on to yourself. Look, I've got a concealed weapons permit. A lot of people do. But do you think I'm going to be packing heat in Cleveland? Hell no. Because at the end of the day, we're going to be, well, knock on wood, I just knocked on some wood, is that, are we going to be safe? Look, we're going to be the safest in the world.
Yeah,
and I guarantee you, after what happened last night, yes, there's probably going to be a couple more cops on the buses and some more armed cops at our credentials. But I can tell you personally, you've seen the events I've been posting on Facebook, that they're only issuing credentials the day of for like our events. Normally in years past, you got one credential, you're good to go for the week. So, they are cracking down, but I think it's just a security issue.
Let's jump into the budget real quick, because I do have to get moving here.
Sure.
But yeah, as you said, compromise. That's definitely I would say that that budget and the spending plan, I think compromise pretty much sums it up.
Well, look, I mean, I am, if I were a member of the House or the Senate, I would have voted no on this budget because the vote was like 116 to 75. I'm not going to pick on certain legislators in Westmoreland County, but, you're not going to put you on the spot, but George Dunbar voted for it. And George has been a fiscal watchdog. I'm not getting tough on George, but if you look at his counterparts, Eli Ivankovich voted against it. Mike Reese voted against it. So, but then you have the majority leader, Mike Thursday, Speaker of the House and Majority Leader Dave Reed, they voted for it. My state rep voted for it. I mean, I'm not sure how Senator Ward voted on it, but my state senator voted for it. Look, a fee is a tax, okay? And the thing is, my brother's all pissed off. He texted me, cigarettes are going up $1 a pack. Well, okay, instead of $6, $7, you're going to pay $8 a pack. But
Mike, don't you have to raise taxes sometime? I mean, sometimes don't you have to raise them?
No.
The price of everything's going up. The price is never going down.
Brian, I agree, and I don't even want to get in there. But but the thing is, for homeowners, or whatever.
I think they need to raise property taxes. I think they need to raise them like double. Just pile it on the property owners. I rent, so for me, that sounds great.
But Brian, okay, if you rent, that's fine. But here's the thing. No matter where you live in the city of Pittsburgh, the North Hills, South Hills, or Morgantown, West Virginia. I mean, if they double the property tax owners, your landlord is going to raise your rent.
No, he's got to take it on the chin.
Oh, okay.
These guys, they don't spread that around. They just eat those costs. You know that.
Well, they do, but I guarantee you.
You're absolutely right. They definitely are going to raise the price on everything.
Look,
everyone always lives in a fantasy world where we're going to stick it to the man and they're just going to lie down and die and accept it. Correct.
Look, a fee is a tax, and I would have voted no on that budget if I was in the House or the Senate because there's certain things you just don't compromise on. And I don't care. I'm not raising taxes one penny. If it's a penny or a penny on cigarettes or $1 on cigarettes. They want to tax downloadable stuff, which I really didn't. Didn't get into the whole bill and all that. But what tax this, tax that? It's like, we're going to tax lottery winnings. Another 2 or 3%. When does it stop? Enough is enough.
All right, Mike, we'll hear a lot from you next week. We're going to go into the weather, and then we got James Ellermeyer up next here on the River's Edge Radio Network. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Brian. Have a good weekend. I'll talk to you Monday. Bye-bye.
Yep, see you then.
This is Heather Nevels with your weekend weather forecast for the River's Edge Radio Network. Rain chances will be lingering due to more energy in the upper levels of the atmosphere and a cold front that still sits to our west. Friday, this morning, overcast to mostly cloudy skies through the day, much less humid. A chance of pop-up showers and storms for a late afternoon evening. High of 85. Tonight, partly cloudy. Storms and showers exiting the region and dying off by midnight. Low of 65. Saturday, partly to mostly sunny and pleasant, with a chance of isolated showers, 81. Saturday night, partly to mostly clear skies with a low of 60. Sunday, mostly sunny with a high of 85, and for Sunday evening, mostly clear with a low of 60. Early next week, higher temperatures and a chance of more widespread showers and storms return. Tune in on Monday for my forecast for next week.
Would you be interested in developing conscious choice? Would you be interested in creating reactions rather than waiting for one to come? Would you be interested in combining serendipity and synchronicity? Would you be interested in making 1 + 1 = 3? Would you be interested in finding out about full impact mindfulness? If so, I challenge you to join myself, Jim Ellermeyer, a cognitive behavioral health therapist, every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. on the River's Edge, where we will challenge you to allow us to help you help yourself to fully participate in your life. Let the adventure begin.
All right, welcome back to the River's Edge Radio Network. Brian Crawford here. You just heard your weather report with Heather Neville. She's back. She just moved, so she was absent for quite a while. But one gentleman who's been on the network for about a month, I believe, Jim Ellermeyer, he's right here across the table from me. How are you today?
Just grand.
Good. So
Super groovy, we'd say in the old days.
You've got a cup that says chill, so that's kind of cool, right?
You bet.
So yeah, we're all excited to have you guys on, and I think it just fit Sunday, like what the day that I was looking Sunday. I think it just like is the perfect content for that day, and I enjoy the show. It's a good program, and why don't you tell everybody what you do?
Well, I'm a mindfulness-based cognitive behavioral therapist. In the past, everyone associated mindfulness with shaved head monks in saffron and yellow robe, sitting in pillows in a temple in Thailand, surrounded by 10,000 candles, going all day. However, my concept of life is a bit different. For those of you who are familiar with The Wizard of Oz, when the original first part of the film was filmed in black and white. So, however, when Dorothy lands in Oz, the tornado takes her house and lands in Oz. When she opens the door, what does she see? Technicolor, the world in color, the world in bright. It was her stepping out of her mundane black and white world and fully participating in life. And that's the type of view, that's the type of vision that I have for people.
I know listening to your program, you often talk about choices that you can make as an individual to take control of your life, and I always related to that because I get frustrated, I guess, because you always see people they I don't know, they stay in their rut. They're not unwilling to take chances on themselves, and then they sit there and whine and moan and cry because they're not where they want to be. And I whine and moan and cry because I'm not where I want to be, but I'm also pushing to try to make that happen. So many people are so content to just sit still and wait for things to happen to them, and then they complain about not getting the luck or the right hand that they need to get things done.
Brian, most people walk through their life with their eyes wide shut and live their life on wishes and hopes, waiting for something and hoping for something to happen. So it takes action and effort to involve yourself in your life. And I often use a story to illustrate this, and it involves the divine. There was a person who prayed to win the lottery every day. Sweat, blood. Nothing ever happened. So eventually, after a while, they got so angry, they got so pissed off that they ran outside and they yelled up at the sky. They said, "God, why won't you let me win the lottery?" And God called back down and said, "Could you meet me halfway and at least buy a ticket?" So the idea with full impact mindfulness is buying the ticket on your life. Be your own travel agent. Don't let your thoughts and feelings in life be your travel agent and take you where they want you to go.
How did you get involved with this? How did you start the podcast? Tell us a little bit about your background.
My background, had many different phases of my life, many different reincarnations. However, in this one was evolved in the 12-step recovery world. I had certainly had more than my share of time of troubles. However, in the 12-step recovery world, which involves a change in your thoughts and a change in your actions, I began to see what was truly important in my life. And what's truly important is carrying this message to others who still suffer.
How do people? People can obviously access us through the River's Edge Radio Network and your website, fishingwithoutbait.com. But I guess how do you get out to people? Obviously through things like the River's Edge.
What's
your goal? I guess with the podcast.
My goal is to help people. My goal is to help people live their lives as fully as they possibly can. Have you ever seen a horse race? Thoroughbred horse race.
On TV, never in person.
Cool. So these are big, magnificent animals, and they can do one thing, and they can do it well. However, what do these horses have on their eyes?
Yeah,
they have blinders on, blinders, and that's what I call an expert's mind. Okay, so when most people walk through their life, they walk with an expert's mind. They have a narrow focus, and that's all they can see. Okay, their view and their view only. So have you ever been around a 3 or a 4-year-old child?
Yes.
And
yes.
when they look at something and they look at the awe and the wonder that they view the whole life with, why do children ask so many questions, Brian?
Because
They're so interested, they're so curious. So when did we lose that? When did we become so jaded? When did we put those blinders on?
I guess that's the good thing about being a talk radio host is you're not an expert on anything. You're just a bullshitter, so you can get through anything. No, that's a good point. There's a song that's out there, and it's not on our network because it's a national song, but it's if I can't think of the name offhand, it's 21 Pilots writes the song.
Yes.
It's Stressed Out, and
Yes.
I often think of that song because, as somebody who is approaching 30, people say, it's time to, get a job with a pension or do this or do that, and I have that job, but I have no plans on staying there, which, drives some people nuts who I'm related to. But even at this age, I'm looking to approach new things, enter new things, and try to make this network grow. And that song always related to me because I think it's kind of talking about the same message in a way, a different variety of it, but it's in the same ballpark where just because you're getting older doesn't mean you have to fall into this trap of the mundane and doing what's expected. You can still pursue things in life. There's not an age limit as to when you can stop learning or stop expanding your horizons and bettering yourself.
No, you can teach an old dog new tricks. Excuse me. You can teach an old dog new tricks. It's a concept called neuroplasticity. However, what I try to help people, what I try to address the issue is that most people are time travelers. They have frequent flyer miles to the past or the future with brief layovers in the present. So normally when we're living in that past, we're living in resentment, or we're living in frustration, we're living in anger, we're living in things I wish I would have done or wish I would not have done, things I wish I would have said or things I wish I would not have said. How often do we go there? The past becomes a tar pit and we bring that pain of the past into the present. Or when we're living in the future, we're living in anxiety and worry, and underlying all that is fear. So by fully participating in the moment, we turn that past into experience and wisdom, and we turn that future into goals and ambitions. Goals and ambitions are accomplished by action and effort in the present. It's when we plan definitive results, when we walk through our life with our eyes wide shut, that we set ourselves up for disappointment. Hence my concept of fishing without bait, a lifetime without definitive expectations, because when we place those rigid expectations on ourselves, we set ourselves up for disappointment and failure. Have you ever seen people that live their life on the I have to, I need to, I must?
Yes, I have certain goals. Now my thing is I don't set time frames for myself, and maybe that's where there's a difference. Where, but I do expect certain things to happen. I expect this network to succeed. I expect certain things to happen, and I won't take no for an answer. But I don't necessarily have a rigid timeline that's attached to that.
So you put yourself in a position to succeed. Can you put yourself in a position to succeed by being in the future or being in the past? No, it's right
Not
now.
Completely, I don't think.
When I ask people where are they at, they give me all type of answers, and I will often suggest, well, you're right here. You're right here. And I ask them, how do they know they're right here? Then I ask them to fully describe everything that they see in front of them, completely in detail. And then I ask them what time it is, and quite often they'll look at some nonsense device on their wrist or a computer screen, and I'll suggest to them that it's right now. Then I ask them, could it possibly be any time other than that? Could it possibly be? So one of the ways that I help people bring themselves back into the moment is asking them, where are you at and what time is it? Well, I'm right here and it's right now. That's my mantra.
Now, I have a question. So say we talked about the past, and what if you're somebody who uses that anger and that resentment to push themselves forward? Say somebody who hasn't succeeded, but they're angry about that situation, and they turn that into action.
Emotions are wonderful. Feelings are wonderful. They're neither good or bad. They just are. So the idea is that we must be able to identify and label these emotions so they can be of some use to them. Then we can. Desperation can be the most powerful gift that anyone can ever have. And so why do people name pets, Brian? Why do people name
I've heard
animals?
this episode. Yeah, I was listening.
Why do they do
Because
that?
it builds that personal connection, that emotional connection, It's the same as a child naming their stuffed animal, even.
Sure, absolutely. So if you did not give your dog a name, a pet a name, and it ran outside, how could you get it back?
Yeah.
You run outside and you'd be lost. And this is the way that some people get lost in their fears, and they get lost in their thoughts and feelings and emotions because they can't identify them. They get lost. So when you're able to identify, this is fear. I am fearful. Where did that come from? So remember, what we deal with is behaviors. And so what we look is what's driving those behaviors. And fear can be a powerful force. Powerful. Have you ever been to the ocean?
I love the ocean. It's my favorite place to visit.
Cool. Did you ever stand up in front of you see people standing in front of waves, and that big waves come in? And what does waves? What do they do? What do the waves do to people?
It can push them back.
They push them back.
Yes.
They knock them down. They buffet them around. However, have you seen people that go out into the waves, and the waves come in? They spread their arms out. They get a little loosey-goosey, and what do?
Yeah, they ride.
They ride. They use the power of those emotions rather than fight against them.
Makes sense.
So when you were a young person, people that are out there, if you're on the playground and somebody pushes you, what's the natural tendency?
Push them back.
You push them back. So remember, what we resist persists. So when we push, they push back, and then people spend much energy fighting off thoughts in their head the whole day. Okay, so the idea is let's use that energy, let's use that emotion, but first of all, we have to be aware of it and recognize it, and that means being right here and being right now.
Yeah, it's a fascinating show, and there's so much great advice. And does most of this come? Well, I imagine this show is a hybrid of your personal experiences coupled with what you've learned educationally. Is that accurate?
It's a mixture. I often joke with people that I haven't had an original idea in years, that I generally take and steal and
that's a talk radio host mantra, you know.
And manipulate and massage and try to turn out some of that people can actually use. I'm not interested in lecturing people. I'm interested in providing useful experiences that they can incorporate in their life.
And that makes a huge difference, because I know I'm somebody, if you come at me waving that finger, I'm going to run the other way, because who in the hell are you? That's my mindset. You know, who in the hell are you to tell me? But if you're having a conversation, or if you approach something you approach something at advice in a caring way, people are going to be much more receptive to that.
I'm not looking to help people find themselves. I'm an older hippie. However, what I'm interested in helping people create themselves.
Yes.
Create themselves.
And I think that's a big distinction, because everyone talks about finding themselves, and that's a waiting process. It's almost like it's wasted time. I don't know. I've always been somebody, I like to jump in and create my own path. At WCAL, when I was there at that station, and, there was conflicts with the station manager, I said, screw it, I'm going to start my own thing, and here I am. The station manager's working at Gecko. I own a radio network. So she's the type who, she's waiting for things to happen to her. She, I had this internship, they're going to want me, instead of going out and making your own tape and putting your own effort out there and making yourself a marketable person. And not only can that help you, I think, in making yourself, as you say, but it also helps in practical areas such as finding a job. If you're somebody who's going to be out there and you're going to build your resume, you're going to build yourself up as a person, and then you can go in with that confidence, your employer is going to see that as well.
Many people spend most of their time thinking about things that I can't do rather than things that I can. So what I'm asking people is to actually, literally and figuratively, to reverse the lenses in their glasses and focus on the positive aspects of their life. We could concentrate on character defects and weaknesses for the next 6 months, and I almost guarantee you things will get worse. So the idea is that every single human being has gifts, talents, and abilities inside them. And it's not through begging, pleading, crying, screaming, yelling, threatening that you get those out. It's through encouragement and support. I don't give any people sympathy, Brian. When you give somebody sympathy, you're participating in their misery. What I do offer them is encouragement and support, and understand that people have an awesome, amazing ability to understand their own issues and resolve their own problems. It's just at the time that they have their eyes wide shut.
That's a good point. And when you come together, that's how you're able to build wonderful things. I know personally, I know my weaknesses. That's the reason why there's a technology person associated here. I know enough to get through, but if we get a computer virus, I'm helpless. Financial, I understood, I'm not, finance is not my strong suit. When I started an organization at CalU to raise money for cancer, I put somebody in charge of the finances. I said, keep me away from it. This is on you. We don't want to go bankrupt before we get started, so, but I think if you understand that, you're able to use other people to help you, and you can help each other and build each other up by understanding that we all have different talents that we could use to work together.
And that's also lowering ego. When our egos begin to overcome us, and we begin to think from our thoughts rather than at them, then they become a travel agent that takes us to an undesirable destination.
So what do we have on the horizon for Fishing Without Bait?
Fishing Without Bait, I've recently come up with, in the last 8 or 9, 10 podcasts, I've come up with a concept like what I call full impact mindfulness. It's when we approach that wall rather than bounce off it, we can transform ourselves, much like the butterfly coming out of a cocoon and coming out into that beautiful butterfly and truly, truly experiencing life, having that tingle. I talk about the tingle. Walking through life with a tingle.
I like it. Tingling. It's fun. It's a fun word. I like it. It does. When you say that word, there's a feeling that's associated with it, so it really can bring kind of the description to life.
Sometimes I call it popping in. When we pop into life and we're really there and we're really experiencing what's going on right in front of us. So my goal with full impact mindfulness with Fishing Without Bait is to help people be popped in all the time.
Definitely check it out at fishingwithoutbait.com, and you can hear it every Sunday morning here at 7 a.m. at riversedgepgh.com. Thanks so much, Jim.
Thank you, Sag. Thank you for having me. Be kind to yourself. Be good to another.
Absolutely. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow, right here, 10 a.m., the same place, the same time. We are bringing back Jay Cooper. He's back in studio. Very excited about this. Jay is a hilarious guy. He's been with us from the beginning. You cannot miss this. riversedgepgh.com tomorrow at 10 a.m. I'm Brian Crawford. We'll catch you tomorrow morning.